Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, no matter where you are in the world. This is Howie, and I'm here to help you win with money. In this episode of Back to School, we're going to cover a high level overview of what Bitcoin and Ether is and why you should consider it as part of your investment portfolio. So, what is a Bitcoin and what is a Ether and all these other digital coins? What is a digital currency? So, that's the first thing we got to understand. What's the difference between that and a regular currency? Well, it solves a problem, what they call a trustless transaction without a middleman. And so what that means is, right now, if I send money to you, we're going to need a bank in the middle. Whether you use Zelle, Venmo, PayPal, Visa, MasterCard, bank-to-bank transfer, ACH, if I'm moving almost everything except for cash, where you don't really need a middleman or a gold bar or something like that, or where we barter for items. But outside of that, if you're doing any type of other banking transaction, often you need somebody in the middle. And what Bitcoin and Ether solves and all these digital currencies is we can do that without a middleman and knowing that the money is good or the thing that we're exchanging is there. The other thing it's really interesting is it uses this concept of an open distributed ledger. What that means is all of us have access to the books, whereas today only your bank has access to all the account numbers and who has what value in each account. A distributed ledger means everyone has it and is validated by everyone and everybody can see it. So there is some differences between current banking and how Bitcoin works. But why does it have value? And this is the hard one. Right? We're not going to always answer this in a short video. US dollars are not backed by gold anymore. It hasn't been. But the short answer is this. It serves as a better currency than what we have today. Currencies have a problem with inflation. Currencies have a problem with supply. Governments print more out. Currencies have issue with counterfeiting. So there's a lot of issues. And so let's talk about supply and the US dollar. Do we have a finite number of US dollars? And the answer is no. Most currency, or what we call fiat money, is controlled by governments, whether it's the US dollar or any other currency out there in the world. Most governments understand that if they keep on printing it, it works to their advantage. And the US has one huge advantage that other countries don't. We are the reserve currency of the world. So we can get away with printing money a little bit longer than everybody else. In fact, we can probably get away with it for another 40 or 50 years or so, or even longer than that. There are ways for us to do things that other countries can't. But in a Bitcoin world, it solves that. Bitcoin has a fixed rate or supply, and it releases using, this concept of when you mine, it releases it, and there's a halving. Ether is different. It does have an unlimited supply, but Ether has been burning it from last month, so that may help. And again, no one knows, will Ether eventually change the way they do it? What people would like to see is where Ether get to the point of either decrease the supply but have a some type of equilibrium or a little bit lower, but they can always do those changes in the future. You can't have unlimited money supply even in Ether. So I think they're going to add some changes in the future. You're going to restrict some of the supply. I know you're burning some, but burning doesn't mean anything if you're still growing supply by 5 or 10 or 20% a year. So you have to solve that, and I think that's at some point I think Ether will. Ether has some other interesting aspects. It does smart contracts, a lot of decentralized finances built on that. There is these NFT, which is really popular. So Ether is getting very popular. It is one of the biggest usage right now of all these other ways to use the blockchain, whether it's gaming, collectibles, whether it's banking, staking, whatever it may be. Ether is really the king of all the smart contracts, and that's why a lot of other coins are getting into smart contracts. So now, how should you look at it if you still think it's a bad investment? So I'm not here to convince you that it's going to be a good investment, but how should you look at it as a bad investment? So here's my argument. Bitcoin's been around for about 12 years. Ether has been around for 6. And for most of you who lost money in things that are bad investments, think of how fast you lost your money. Literally a year and you lost your money. Some of you have business deals that failed in less than 6 years. The concept of this is, if these things are bad investments, sure, they can still fail 20 years, 30 years into the future. But most bad investments have already failed. And you know who I'm talking about. You probably joined one of these friends and family Ponzi schemes and lost your money. But if you invested a little bit, I'm talking about $1 in Bitcoin or Ether, and whether you did it 2, 3, or 4 years ago, you would have made money. And this is one way you got to look at it. No one's telling you to go all in. But if you can afford to lose a cup of coffee, invest $4. And if you think that's a good investment, invest $4 once a month. At the end of the year, you just invested $48. This is how I believe you should look at it. Even if you don't think it's a good investment, you should put a little bit in. Whether it's $1, $2, $5, $10, whatever that number is for you, make sure you're comfortable with losing it. You want to have some skin in the game, because if this thing becomes the world's best currency, there's going to be a lot more room to run. There are some people who are expecting Bitcoin going up and up and up even more. Here is on Cointelegraph. There's an article here. Here's another guy who thinks Bitcoin, right now Bitcoin's at 50,000. It thinks it's going to hit the end of the year at 100,000. Most experts and most of the people who follow this space think Ether will finish around 5,000 this year. But Ether, a lot of people are predicting that this thing can reach $10,000 per coin. And the last thing that some people think will cause Ether price to continue to keep on going up is this concept of the triple halving. So they never had a concept of halving, but they believe that the way Ether is going to switch from proof of work to proof of stake, and a lot of people are going to be staking their Ether, it takes a lot of that supply out of the network. And when you stake it, basically you're locking it up, can't use it, no one can buy it or move it around. And they think that effect will cause the price to go up. Hopefully you enjoyed this. Hey, don't forget to give me a comment, thumbs up, like this video. Again, this is not investment advice.